blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let them in, not to certify them, so to speak, once they come in. And they came in, and they shouldn't have come in. And frankly, the whole thing was a mess. The whole Afghanistan situation was a mess. It should have never taken place. If we're going to go out, and we would have gone out because I had everybody ready to go. We were going to go out with strength and dignity and precision. And we would have left from Bagram, and we would have kept Bagram, by the way, because of its very close relationship to China and where they make their missiles. But when you let the people come in by the thousands and thousands and thousands, they made a terrible mistake. But they were incompetent, yeah.
Hey, welcome in everybody to Courageous Media. Really hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you had a great weekend. I really appreciate everybody rolling up. Obviously, the big story over the weekend was 2 National Guard members have been shot by an Islamist jihadi in Washington, D.C. You saw Trump. Love him or hate him, one thing you got to admit, Trump does not varnish the truth. Are you a stupid person? So, I mean, he's entertaining, if nothing else. I mean, even if you hate him, at least you got to be entertained. Are you not entertained when Trump starts speaking off the cuff? So, why do you blame the Biden administration? Because they let the Afghan national in who shot the 2, National Guard people. I mean, are you a stupid person? I just love it. That is great stuff. We're going to dive into that story because obviously that story is huge. And that story leads us into what else is going on as Trump has moved to severely curtail immigration all across the board in a series of moves that I find absolutely awesome. I think personally, we should probably end all immigration to the United States for a period of time to make sure everybody assimilates, and anybody not assimilating needs to go away. But let me know what you think. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Please let me know you're here in the comments. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, it really helps us out with YouTube. If you watch all our videos to the end, subscribe if you haven't, like them, and also comment. Really appreciate you being here. We've got this goofball from CBS talking about, trying to figure out why this Islamist jihadi shot 2 National Guard troops, other than the fact that he's an Afghan. He hates America. He hates Americans. He hates anybody who's, remotely Christian or non-Muslim. We could put 1,000 reasons in there, but let's dive right in and check it out. Here we go.
Understand why a gunman ambushed and shot 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C. last week. Now, one of the victims, Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, was killed. The other, Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, is still in the hospital this morning. The suspect has been identified as Ramanullah Lakhanwal, an Afghan national. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says he may have been radicalized after entering the U.S. in 2021.
We believe he could have been radicalized in his home community and in his home state. So as we continue to talk to his family and his contacts, more details will be revealed and we'll release those when it's appropriate.
CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camila Montoya Galvez joins us now to discuss this. Camila.
Now, if he was radicalized after entering the United States, it's because he moved into a completely balkanized, non-assimilating community. Realize that that is the big problem with what is happening, especially with Muslim and Middle Eastern Americans, Middle Easterns in America, is that they do not assimilate. They form their own communities. They have their own religion, their own mosques. They insulate. They do not learn the language beyond what is necessary, and they do not assimilate. They did not come here because they wanted to be Americans. They came here because they wanted to live in America and leech off America and use America for money, but they never wanted to be an American, which is totally different than immigration 50, 60, 100, 200 years ago. People came to America because they wanted more than anything to be American. They wanted the American dream. They wanted to let go of all of their old ties. Did they bring some of their culture with them? Sure. But they no longer wanted to be an Italian or a French or a Danish or anybody else. My grandparents, my grandfather immigrated to this country, came over on a boat when he was 17 years old, not a penny to his name. He met my grandmother, who was born to two Danish immigrants living in Denver. So I'm fully one half Danish. And come to find out that my grandfather would not allow his children to learn Danish. He said, no, you will not learn Danish. We are no longer Danish. We are Americans, and we will do everything to be American. That was what immigration was, in the 19th, 18th and 19th century. It's not what it is anymore. The Democrats, the globalists, the cabal of corruptocrats have completely bastardized it into something that is akin to come to America, leech off our great capitalist system, get whatever government assistance you can, send it back home, but always hate the country that feeds you. That's where this comes from.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
We heard the secretary there say he may have been radicalized in the U.S., but what do we know about the suspect?
Well, we know that according to U.S. officials, Errol, the suspect worked for CIA-backed Zero units in Afghanistan, helping the American war effort there during that 20-year conflict. He entered the U.S. back in September of 2021 under the Biden administration, alongside other tens of thousands of Afghan evacuees airlifted following the fall of Afghanistan and the takeover by the Taliban. He was granted at the time, Errol, something known as immigration parole, which allows people who don't have visas to enter the country on humanitarian grounds and to live and work here legally for some time. He later applied for asylum in the last few weeks of the Biden administration in December of last year, and that application was granted in April of this year under the second Trump administration. So clearly there were several circumstances and opportunities for Republican and Democratic administrations to vet and screen this man and to identify any derogatory information or red flags. But as we discussed on Friday, there are several limitations when it comes to immigration vetting, one of them being the inability to get good, reliable information and data from countries like Afghanistan, and the other being that vetting is not a crystal ball that predicts the future, obviously. And so
Obviously. So he came here with tens of thousands of Afghan people who assisted the U.S. military, people who fought alongside the U.S. military. I don't believe that for an instant. Were there maybe hundreds that fought alongside the U.S. military, that translated, that were all in for the U.S. military? Yes, absolutely. But looking back on this Biden debacle, it wasn't just a matter of incompetence. It was, I believe, two things. I believe the Afghan Biden debacle was two things: that the deep state was running two separate ops. A, how do we give a terrorist organization $80 billion without Congress having any say in the matter? Because there's even under the Biden administration, there's no way Congress is going to approve an $80 billion aid package to the Taliban. No. That's never going to happen. So, we'll just leave $80 billion worth of military equipment there that they can go sell on the secondary market, that they can use. So that's how we do that. And B, we create as much chaos as possible so that then we have to fly 10,000 plus Afghan nationals back to the United States because they assisted the military. And suddenly you've got 10,000 Islamist jihadis, or maybe you've got 1,000 good guys and 9,000 plus not good guys that are suddenly in America, unvetted, wreaking havoc inside our borders. I believe that was a deep state op from the get-go. There's no way that people are that stupid. No, that was planned. That was planned in order to create a situation like this, where you've got an unvetted Afghan national that was led in by Biden, flown over here, applies for asylum during the Biden administration. In the early opening days of the Trump administration, it's still all Biden people, other than at the top echelons of the cabinet positions, because one of the mistakes that I thought Trump made was he should have fired everybody. Anybody who was appointed by anybody other than him should have been fired immediately if they're an appointed position. If they're a political appointee, they should have been gone. Even if that means the government grind it to a halt, get rid of those people. And they should have started the mass firing even earlier, and to a greater effect. But this is what we got. We have one critically ill National Guard member, and we have one deceased National Guard member at the hands of this Islamist, disgusting animal who needs to, personally, I think they should rendition him. He's not a citizen. Bye-bye. But there are constitutional protections, responsibilities that we have to people. So he will most likely get his day in court, but he shouldn't really, because no matter what, he's going to be deported. So I say just deport him and get it over with. What do you think? Let me know what you think in the comments. But so we've got Ramanullah Lankenwal, who is now under arrest for murder. We've got a dead National Guard soldier and a critically wounded one who have been taken from their families, essentially, at this point. And there needs to be serious ramifications. Well, Trump is not screwing around. So to get into our segment, I wanted to lead in with that because that hits all of us in the military. It hits us hard because those National Guard troops were unarmed. They were there simply helping to bring order to the streets of Washington, D.C. They weren't there in a law enforcement capacity per se. They had no arrest authority because they weren't brought there under emergency circumstances. They were unarmed. They were basically there to free up Metro PD, the D.C. police, to go actually surge into communities with the help of federal law enforcement officers from ICE, from DEA, from FBI, and elsewhere. And they have completely, for the most part, cleaned up DC from a crime problem. But then you get this person who basically walks out with a firearm and targets 2 U.S. military members for execution. Got one, the other one's still hanging on, but this person needs to be executed themselves, if you ask me. But anyway, so Trump, seeing this, has had enough. He's had enough of this garbage. And so Trump basically is in the process of going scorched earth on this stuff. And I love it because it's about time. Should have happened even earlier than this.